Stephen Chbosky said that in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I used to think it was just a pretty quote until I realized I had been unconsciously rejecting every person who actually loved me. Well, while chasing people who treated me like an option, and if that hits a little too close to home, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what I am about to share might completely rewire how you think about love. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah came to me last month, and she was crying in my office because she had just broken up with Mark. Mark was, by all accounts, incredible. He remembered the little things she mentioned. He planned thoughtful dates. He communicated openly about his feelings. He introduced her to his family after 3 months, and he never once made her question where she stood with him. So why was Sarah sitting in my office, heartbroken, telling me she had to end it? It just felt wrong, she said, wiping her nose with a tissue. Like, where were the butterflies? Where was the excitement? I felt like I was settling. She looked at me with these desperate eyes and said, "Dr. Patterson, I just did not feel anything. Should not love feel like more?" And that is when it hit me. Sarah was not broken. Sarah was not incapable of love. Sarah's nervous system was doing exactly what it had been trained to do for 28 years. It was protecting her from what it perceived as danger. And what did it perceive as dangerous? Safety. See, here is what nobody tells you about healthy relationships. When you have spent your whole life in survival mode, peace feels like the calm before the storm. When you have been conditioned to fight for love, receiving it freely feels like a trap. When your brain has learned that passion equals pain, stability feels like death. Sarah grew up with a mother who gave love based on performance. Good grades meant hugs. Bad behavior meant the silent treatment. Her father was there, but not really there. You know what I mean? Present in body, but emotionally unavailable. So Sarah learned that love was something you had to earn, something that could be taken away at any moment, something that required constant vigilance to maintain. Fast forward to her dating life, every guy who is inconsistent, every man who kept her guessing, every relationship where she had to decode mixed signals and fight for scraps of attention, those relationships felt like home. Not because they were good, but because they were familiar. Her nervous system recognized the pattern. Uncertainty equals love, chaos equals passion, anxiety equals attraction. But Mark felt foreign. When he said he would call, he called. When he made plans, he kept them. When he said he cared about her, his actions matched his words. And Sarah's trauma-trained brain kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. When it did not, when Mark continued to be consistent and kind and available, her nervous system started sending alarm bells. Something is wrong here. This is too easy. This cannot be real. And you know what the cruelest part is? She called it no chemistry. She told her friends she just was not feeling it. She convinced herself she was settling. But what she was actually experiencing was culture shock. The culture of healthy love was so foreign to her nervous system that it felt like nothing at all. This is happening to millions of people right now. You are sitting there wondering why the good ones feel boring. You are questioning whether there is something wrong with you because you do not feel fireworks with the person who treats you well. You are sabotaging relationships with people who could actually love you. Because your brain keeps scanning for the chaos it knows how to navigate. Let me tell you what is really happening in your nervous system when you meet someone emotionally available. Your amygdala, that little alarm system in your brain, it has been programmed by every relationship you have ever witnessed and experienced. If you grew up watching your parents fight and make up, your brain learned that volatility equals love. If you had to perform for affection as a child, your brain learned that love is conditional. If the adults in your life were inconsistent with their care, your brain learned that uncertainty is normal. So when someone shows up and they are just steady, your amygdala does not know what to do with that information. It starts sending signals. This person is too available. Something is off. Where is the challenge? Where is the drama? This does not feel like love. But here is the thing your amygdala does not understand. What it is calling love is actually addiction. When someone treats you inconsistently, when they are hot and cold, when they pull away just when you are getting close, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in gambling addiction. You get intermittent reinforcement, which is the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. So when that person finally gives you attention, when they finally choose you, when they finally show you affection, it hits like a drug. Your brain floods with feel-good chemicals and you think, this is it, This is love. This is passion. But what you are actually experiencing is withdrawal relief. You are not high on love, you are high on the end of emotional starvation. Real love does not work that way. Real love is consistent. It is available. It is predictable in the best possible way. It does not make your heart race with anxiety. It makes your nervous system calm down. It does not keep you guessing. It gives you certainty. It does not make you perform for affection. It offers unconditional positive regard. And if you have never experienced that before, if that is not what love looked like in your family of origin, then yes, healthy love is going to feel boring. It is going to feel like settling. It is going to feel wrong, because you are comparing a nourishing meal to junk food and wondering where all the immediate gratification went. But here's what happens when you push through that discomfort. When you stay in the boring relationship, instead of running toward the chaos, you discover something revolutionary. When you are not constantly in fight or flight mode, when you are not always scanning for threats, when you are not performing for love, you have energy for actual intimacy. You start to notice things you never noticed before. The way they bring you coffee in the morning without being asked, the way they listen when you talk about your day, the way they remember your dreams and ask about them months later, the way they hold space for your emotions without trying to fix you, the way they show up for you, even when you are not at your best. This is love. Not the dramatic, explosive, addictive highs and lows you are used to. This is love in its most pure form. Love is a verb, not just a feeling. Love as a choice made daily, not just an emotion that happens to you, and the chemistry you are looking for. It is there. It is just different. It is in the way you can be fully yourself without fear of abandonment. It is in the deep intimacy that comes from feeling truly seen and accepted. It is in the excitement of building something together instead of constantly tearing it down. It is in the spark that comes from security, not insecurity. Sarah came back to see me 6 months later. She had reached out to Mark, apologized for her confusion, and explained what she had learned about herself. They took things slow. She did some therapy work to understand her patterns, and guess what? She started to feel the chemistry she thought was missing. Not the anxious, addictive chemistry of her past relationships, but the deep, nourishing chemistry of being truly known and loved. She told me something that stuck with me. I thought love was supposed to hurt. I thought if it did not hurt, it was not real. But now, I understand that love is not supposed to hurt. Healing hurts. Love is what happens after the healing. So if you are watching this and you have been sabotaging good relationships because they felt boring, if you have been chasing people who are emotionally unavailable because that feels like passion, if you have been rejecting stability because it feels like settling, I want you to consider this. Maybe what feels like boredom is actually your nervous system finally getting to rest. Maybe what feels like settling is actually leveling up. Maybe what feels like lack of chemistry is actually the presence of safety. The most radical thing you can do is choose the love that feels boring. Stay with the person who shows up. Give the relationship that does not trigger your trauma responses a real chance. Choose healing over familiar. Choose peace over chaos. Choose the love you think you do not deserve until you realize you have deserved it all along. Because the love you are looking for is not in the chaos, it is in the calm. It is not in the uncertainty, it is in the security. It is not in the drama, it is in the peace. And once you experience real love, I promise you, you will never want to go back to the counterfeit version again. If this story resonated with you, if you see yourself in Sarah's journey, leave a comment below and share your experience. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to choose healing over familiar pain. And make sure to subscribe because we are just getting started on this journey of breaking generational patterns and building the love we actually deserve.